history, a staggering 28,000 on both sides, staining the snowstorm-coated battlefield red with their blood.
The extent to which Martin borrowed from the War of the Roses means there's something to say about almost every character. Ned Stark finds parallels with Richard of York, King Joffrey with Edward of Westminster. I'm going to focus on one comparison, Daenerys Targaryen and Henry Tudor.
Both Daenerys and Henry were raised in exile because their claim to the throne as direct descendants of the previous monarch put their lives in danger. But their legitimacy was largely overlooked until the deaths of their heirs apparent. In Dany's case, Viserys. In Henry's, Henry VI and his son Edward. Sensing his opportunity, Henry crossed the Channel from France to Wales in 1485, not with a Dothraki horde, but with an army of 2,000 French mercenaries.
From there, he went to defeat the Yorkists at the Battle of Bosworth Field, becoming the last English monarch to win the throne in battle. King Richard III was killed during the battle. His supposed last words, a horse, my kingdom for a horse, immortalized by Shakespeare in his eponymous play. Lost for centuries, Richard's corpse was recently discovered under a car park in Leicester, exhumed, and then buried again at the slightly nobler site of the Leicester Cathedral. We're going to have to wait and see how much of Henry's reigning years finds echoes in Daenerys. But knowing Martin, one thing's for sure, it's unlikely to be plain sailing.
What was that?
Do you hear that?
Sir Matthew of House Repp. So much went on in this episode. Not only do we have Bran returning home to Winterfell in a vision seeing his young father, aunt, and uncle, but we have Theon's uncle returning home to the Iron Islands. Euron is one of my favorite characters in the book. He's just so twisted. It's a shame we get this watered-down version in the show, but I understand D&D need to make some alterations to wrap things up. I find it interesting that Gregor is a Kingsguard to Tommen, but seems ready to disobey a direct order from the king and murder Lannister soldiers at the behest of the Queen Mother.
Good point.
Yeah, really good point. So much for northern loyalty for the Starks. We have the Karstarks here, and the Umbers next episode declare for Ramsay. Speaking of which, that close knife to Roos's heart perfectly echoes Roose stabbing Robb in season 3.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, good point.
Nice feedback.
Yeah.
Lady Lucy of House Jane. I love the scene with Davos and the Night's Watch. I've never been much of a fighter. I apologize for what you're about to see.
Classic.
I think it's interesting that Tormund refers to the wildlings as my men when he says that he will send them to get wood for the bodies. My men rather than the men. Yeah, interesting.
True.
I think it's really telling how insightful Marcella was and knew that Jaime is her father, whereas Tommen seems to be completely clueless.
True. That's great.
Jaime's loyalty and courage really stands out in this episode. He loves Cersei with all of his heart, which just shows how hard it must be when he eventually leaves her.
Great point.
Totally. In that moment at Marcella's side, talking to the High Sparrow, I think Jaime finally gets how dangerous they are. Before that point, I think he has just dismissed them as fanatics. I do too.
Yeah.
Like when they start surrounding him, he's like, oh man, they mean business.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Is it ever actually said that Tyrion is alcohol dependent? It's alluded to, but I'm not sure it's ever said outright. I think this is the season when it's most obvious. I couldn't agree more with that. I love how the second dragon, I can never tell which is which, turns his head to Tyrion once he has freed the first one. Simple way of showing how intelligent they are, I thought.
I'm with you. I can never tell which dragon is which either.
The green one is Viserion.
They all look the same to me. Even the colors, yeah.
That's funny. Rhaegal is kind of like gold.
Yeah, because you were talking about earlier how they have like all these individual features, and I was like, man, I can't tell.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I find it really hard to watch Arya so helpless, and I fucking hate the wave. Well, it's good to see Roose dead. He's the person who was holding on to Ramsay's lead. Totally true.
Damn.
Ramsay is just a mad dog now, free from any kind of restraint.
Yes, that's great too, because that
Completely
echoes what Ruth said, that you act like a mad dog, you get treated like a mad dog. And his death is the removal of the master of the mad dog, basically.
Yeah. Do you think Ramsay planned to kill Ruth? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do too.
I do not think it was spur of the moment, which is her next question. Why doesn't Brienne tell Sansa that Arya was with the Hound? Does she think it would scare her? Yeah, I agree. Maybe. I think so.
She probably doesn't know of Sansa's experience with the Hound, or maybe she does. Maybe Podrick told her, and that's why she doesn't want to tell her.
And the end scene, does everyone else hold their breath until Jon breathes again?
Oh, yeah.
Me. I'm over here raising my hand.
I don't think I breathed much the whole episode, basically. During the tension with the mountain, when he's like almost going to kill all these people and everything too. Like, yeah. Lots of breath holding moments. Lady Sarah of House Larkham loved all the remaining wildlings running into Castle Black. It was epic, and 1-1 smashing the Night's Watch guy against the wall was so brutal, but also really funny at the same time.
Definitely.
We see Ned's younger brother Benjen as a kid, and Ned is about to be off to the Vale to be taught by Jon Arryn, where he will meet Robert Baratheon. It looked like Willis, a.k.a. Hodor, had a crush on Lyanna. Brienne mentioning to Sansa that she saw Arya, and Brienne saying she wasn't acting ladylike, made Sansa laugh a bit. Theon telling Sansa that he's going back to the Iron Islands makes Sansa plead to come with her and Brienne and Pod to Castle Black, but Theon says that Jon will kill him. Flash forward to when Jon sees Theon at Dragonstone and doesn't kill him because Theon helped Sansa escape Winterfell and Ramsay.
Good point.
Yara standing up to creepy Balon, and when Balon is crossing the bridge, we see Euron for the first time, and he kills Balon. We also meet Aeron Greyjoy, the Salt Priest, which we saw back in season 2 when Theon returned home to ask his father to help Robb. Oh, I don't remember seeing him back then. Good catch.
Yeah, I do. I remember that.
Nice. Ramsay kills Roose exactly the same way Roose kills Robb Stark, in the heart at the Red Wedding.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. That's funny.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's two listeners.
I like how Sansa basically initiated that also and got revenge for Robb. It was cool. Triggering Ramsay to do it for her, basically. Mm-hmm. I couldn't watch when Ramsay took Walda and her son to feed to his hounds. This foreshadows Ramsay's death by the hounds in episode 9. Yes, it does.
Absolutely. It's horrible.
It's so horrible, and not a fate you'd really wish on anybody.
No, that's for sure. Next, we have Sir Patrick of Hindsight. So when Lyanna enters the gates and rides circles around her brothers, exact mirror of Yara doing that to Theon back when the courtyard filled up with drowned men.
Oh, at Winterfell, too.
Yes,
that's
at Winterfell.
Great, dude.
We get the line about the sea is beautiful, but stay too long and you'll drown. Guys, Bran is the drowned god. He gets lost at sea when Jaime kills him before his own birth, when he is inhabiting the Mad King's body. We learn in this episode that dragons are as smart as men, or smarter. Good luck trying to warg into one next season, Bran Muffin.
Bran Muffin. It's great.
You'll probably just end up repeating burn them all over and over and over. He goes on to say, I'm in the midst of listening to Sons of the Harpy right now. Forgive me if I am speaking too soon, but it seems that you gloss over the fact that Rhaegar unseated Barristan in the lists.
Yeah, damn.
That's right. Sure, a case could be made that Barristan would let Rhaegar win, considering he advises Robert that no one would dare unhorse a king. But the lore states...
That reminds me of one of the Duncan Egg novellas. The Kingsguard won't harm the royal family members, so they use that against one of the teams in a trial by combat.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's
Crazy.
pretty funny. They manipulate the victory by sending one of the royal family members to fight with the Kingsguard because they know they won't fight back, basically. So maybe Barristan lets himself be unseated because he can't strike a member of the royal family.
Nice.
Interesting.
Sir Patrick continues, but the lore states that Rhaegar also unseated Arthur Dayne in that tourney, and Dayne had unhorsed him in the prior tourney. So we know that Dayne doesn't pull his punches. What I'm getting at is this. Rhaegar was the best fighter of his time. If Robert beat him in the Trident, Rhaegar let him win.
Damn.
It's just as likely that Rhaegar wasn't at the Trident, and that it was a stand-in wearing Rhaegar's armor.
Yep.
Same episode, Barristan recounts how he and Rhaegar would disguise themselves as common folk.
True.
Having a penchant for disguise is an aptitude that gets you noticed by the faceless men. Why do you think Jaqen displays so much favorism towards Arya? He's Rhaegar.
Oh, that would be Arya's uncle.
Yep. The Trident leads straight to salt pans from where the ship leads towards Braavos. On the subject of Batman, a few episodes back, Duncan quips that Jaime is set to infiltrate Dorne. Like he's Batman. Come on, Jaime. Barristan is Batman.
Yeah.
Well, considering that Jaime squired for Barristan against the Smiling Knight, I would say that means that Jaime is Robin. Nice.
Love it.
Also, regarding Batman, the Sons of the Harpy killing Barristan is somewhat apt because this underground organization of mass elitists is the analog for the Court of Owls in Gotham lore. Ooh. Tying it all together, Jaqen Agar equals Ra's al Ghul, Faceless Man equals League of Shadows, well, at the House of Black and White equals Lazarus Pit.
Interesting.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, that was really cool. Thanks for writing, man. Good to hear from you.
Yes, thanks, Sir Patrick.
Lady Alicia of House Stout. A quick comment with regards to Season 6, Episode 2, Home. Why do you think Jon Snow had the ability of being resurrected by the Red Woman? Could it be that he is like Beric Dondarrion and he can die and be brought back to life with a Red Priest? I guess we may or may not find out in Season 8, since he has only died once on the show so far. I'm also currently, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because he has royal blood. Maybe it's just purely the Lord of Light with a red woman. Gotta wonder. I'm also currently watching Season 6, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood, and holy heck, I never caught the lines from Benjen before when he told Bran about his journey beyond the wall. Quote, "A White Walker stabbed me in the gut with a sword of ice, left me there to die, to turn. The children found me, stopped the White Walker's magic from taking hold." Bran says, "How?" Benjen says, "The same way they made the White Walkers in the first place. You saw it yourself." Bran says, "Dragon glass." Wow, so dragon glass will kill the White Walkers, but also save people from turning into them? So cool. And that reminded me of some research that my sister did at Connecticut College on cocaine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she discovered that if you do not have schizophrenia, cocaine will induce symptoms of schizophrenia with some people. And she discovered that if you do have schizophrenia, cocaine will reduce symptoms of schizophrenia for people. So it can both cause and eliminate symptoms of schizophrenia. Ew,
that's crazy.
Yeah, sort of the way dragon glass can both create and prevent White Walkers. Which is
Coke
pretty
'em
interesting.
Up.
Yeah, coke 'em up. Classic.
Nice.
Thanks for writing in,
everybody.
Yeah. All right. That's our show, episode 94. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yes, thank you guys.
And thank you to John Bailey, the epic voiced guy from Honest Trailers, for announcing our show.
Boobs.
If you'd like to donate or subscribe to support us, you can go to paypal.me/GOM podcast or patreon.com/GOM podcast. There are links to both at gameofmicrophones.com.
Doing some online shopping? Go go to gameofmicrophones.com and click on our link to Amazon. As an Amazon associate, we earn from qualifying purchases.
Any contribution you make helps, and you can help secure the continued existence of GOM. We'd also like to thank our patrons, Sir Matthew of House Repp, Lady Lucy of House Roberts, Lady Candace of House Tews, Lady Teri of House Theodore, Lord Jeff of House Allen, Sirenicide, and Luke, the Low Duke. Thank you guys so much for your support. And make sure to check out Sirenicide, the brainchild of Johnny Stitches. It's a serialized horror drama podcast taking place in the fictional city of Morston, Texas, featuring me playing Mayor of Morston, Malik Husto, and Archmaester Stitches as Johnny Stitches.
We also want to give a huge thanks to Lady Lisa of House Sky, Pyromancer. It was so awesome having her on last episode.
For sure.
I love her.
I
love you, Lisa. She's been key behind the scenes working to get gameofmicrophones.com up and running. She's also a crazy, amazing artist.
Yeah.
So check out her amazingly illustrated children's book, The People You May See, available now on Amazon.com.
I'm going to have a piece that she did of Drogon on display on my set, which is
nice. Cool. Love it. I would love to see that.
It's great.
You can check some of her work out at fineartsbylisa.com, Instagram.com/fineartsbylisa, and Facebook.com/fineartsbylisa.
Next episode, we'll be covering Season 6, Episode 3, Oathbreaker.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds fun. Give it a watch and send us your thoughts. We'd love to read them on air. If you'd like to call, you can call us at 813-JOFFREY. That's 813-563-3739.
If you would like to write in, you can email us at ravens@gameofmicrophones.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOM podcast. And while you're there, give us a like and review.
Imp slap.
Oh.
You can also listen to Game of Microphones on YouTube, BitChute, and Steemit. Just search for Game of Microphones to find our channel. We can't create a custom URL on YouTube until we have 100 subscribers, so please subscribe as well. Likes, comments, and shares are also appreciated.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Gab, and Mind at GOM Podcast.
And we're on Tumblr too, at Game of Microphones.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening. I met a man who came back from the dead, but the priest who did it, it shouldn't have been possible.
But it was, and it could be now.
Not for me.
Not for you. I saw you drink poison that should have killed you. I saw you give birth to a demon made of shadows.
Everything I believed, the great victory I saw in the flames, all of it was a lie. You were right all along. The Lord never spoke to me.
Fuck him, then. Fuck all of them. I'm not a devout man, obviously. 7 gods, drowned gods, tree gods. It's all the same. I'm not asking the Lord of Light for help. I'm asking the woman who showed me that miracles exist.
I never had this gift.
Have you ever tried? Oh shit! No offense
sorry.
about that.
Didn't mean to. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Totally. And Varys has some big balls. I mean, he has no balls, but he's got metaphorical balls. I'm here to help. Don't eat the help.
Don't eat the help.
Yeah, exactly. He sees him free Rhaegal, and he's like,
"Me too. Me too."
How fucking baller Tyrion
like,
is.
What just happened?
Yeah,
here?
the ultimate gangster. I mean, one of the cool lines from the books is that even a small man can cast a large shadow.
Ooh, I love that.
And I think that Tyrion in that dark chamber with that torch just cast a really huge shadow.
Mostly, I have wine glasses that say "for Fox's sake" on them, or "infoxicated." My favorite is "infoxicated."
Classic. Embellishing this story about when Cersei's doing her shame walk.
Half inch shy of an inch.
Yeah. And he's like, you all know me. You know I wouldn't lie about this. I'm just like, oh my God. And if Gregor wasn't already going to kill him ruthlessly, he definitely earned it by pissing all over his armor. Yeah.
This guy is so drunk.
So drunk.
He can't even stand up.
And the look on his face is hilarious. And the effortless speed and force displayed by the mountain here, it's mesmerizing. It's horrible what he's doing, but I don't know, it's just hilarious to me.
I know. The White Walkers... The White Walkers? Seriously? What the fuck is wrong with me right now? The Night's Watch. And so 1-1 gets shot in the shoulder and picks this guy up and just rails him against the wall.
Ragdolls him.
Throws him in front of Alistair, like, seriously?
Balon's like, he's all like pissed off. Sketchy ass rope bridges.
In a freaking wind rainstorm.
Yeah, there's this gnarly storm outside.
This rickety ass bridge.
Swinging all over the place.
You couldn't pay me $1 million to go on that bridge.
I think I would. It's kind of cool.
Standing there because he has sea legs.
He's got sea legs, matey.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And we're like, what the fuck is a king's moot? Like, what good am I? You know, I thought it was funny. It was kind of a lucid moment where he realizes his own worthlessness. You suck, Tommen.
Oh, poor Tommen. I feel so bad for Tommen.
Yeah, totally.
He bitch slapped the gods.
Yeah, bitch slapped the gods. That's great. Outtake reel. Wow, I'm dumb, basically. And he's like, Willis, and says his name. And Hodor's like, Hodor, you know, like, yeah. And he's like, I saw you. What happened? Because you didn't learn yet how he got Hodored. Mm-hmm. I'm so sad. Hodor can't tell him. He's just like, Hodor.
But that's what's so funny is that's what happened to him.
And again, Hodor. He just can't say shit, man. She just walks right in. I'm like, oh my God, do not go in there, girlfriend. You know, and
like, why would Roose be in the kennels?
And as horrible as all of this is an epic one-liner from Ramsay. I prefer being an only child. And I'm like, oh man, so twisted.
Fuck.
And he just whistles the dogs, and they'll be eaten for a few days for sure. Please.
And I'm gonna hug you now.
Yeah, her dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And 1-1 smashing the Night's Watch guy against the wall was so brutal, but also really funny at the same time.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I think I nailed that.
Yeah, I think you did. Good job.
Wow.
Having a bench coat for disguise. Coke 'em up.
Yeah, coke 'em up. Classic.
Thanks for listening. That was so Valley Girl. Like, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Oh my God.
Ew.
That's my father.
The man beside him is Howland Reed, Mira's father.
Sir Arthur Dane.
The Sword of the Morning.
Father said he was the best swordsman he ever saw.
Lord Stark?
I looked for you on the Trident.
We weren't there.
Your friend, the usurper, would lie beneath the ground if we had been.
The Mad King is dead. Rhaegar lies beneath the ground. Why weren't you there to protect your prince?
Our prince wanted us here.
Where's my sister?
I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. And now it begins.
No. Now it ends.
When you play the game of microphones, you win or you die. From within the House of Black and White, it's Sir Duncan and Lady Rachel.
Well met, Tower defending Kingsguard and candy seeking little birds, and welcome to Game of Microphones. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, the transmogrifying horror.
And I'm Lady Rachel of House Fox, the Unbroken.
And this is episode 95.
On this episode of our series Rewatch, we're covering Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 3, Oathbreaker. I almost said Oathkeeper.
I know. Every time I go to say Oathkeeper, even when I'm typing it, and I'm like, fuck. And in case you're not already aware, this series Rewatch is from the perspective of someone who's current on the show. That means you've seen up through Season 7. If not, there's still time to be cut down with an underhanded stab to the back of the neck by a Crannog man, so you don't have to hear these spoilers.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
What an episode.
Oh, man. Season 6.
I love Season 6.
Yeah, as we're going, and I realize every episode, this is like one of my favorite seasons.
Yeah,
no question.
Sure.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So what's your number 5 for this episode, Lady Rachel?
Let's see. My number 5 is the small council kicks Cersei out.
Crazy scene, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think finally Cersei is getting dealt what she's been dealing to all of these people. The tables have been turned. They've seen her weak and are gonna, like Jamie said, take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, like she can't come back after that.
No.
Well,
and
maybe she can.
So Pycelle farts.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, I love that. He's talking about what a monstrosity the mountain is and that Qyburn should do away with him. And this is what got him kicked out of the Citadel. And
yep.
He's talking total shit about the mountain, and he walks and he looks over and he lets out this little fart. And the comedic humor in that is so perfect.
Oh, yeah. He's talking all this shit and doesn't realize that the mountain is right there, and he looks over and it just can't help it. Just squeezes out a fart. I feel like this scene has to be referencing that bad lip reading video, the famous Game of Thrones one.
Oh, you think so?
Medieval Fun Time Land. Yeah, it has to be, because there's that whole scene where the guy, the supplicant, shows up at court. My hot dog stand's got no ketchup. And then Grand Mr. Pycelle lets out a fart that lasts for like 35 seconds.
Hot dog stand's got no ketchup.
Every time you think it's over, he's like, oh,
he keeps going.
Yeah, so I feel like this scene has to be referencing that.
Probably. It was just so funny. And no one even bats an eye. No one looks over at him or anything.
They're all too terrified by the mountain.
Yeah.
It's so great.
So Cersei looks over at Olenna and she's like, why the fuck are you here? Who invited you to this tea party? And Lady Olenna was like, I'm here to help on several issues, such as Marjorie's. That's what she implies here. The queen's imprisonment. And Cersei's like, I'm free. And Elena's like, you're not the queen. You're not married to the king. Marjorie is the queen.
Yeah, she mentions that whole thing. And Cersei's like, oh, yeah, we do need to address my grievances for being captured. And she's like, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
So Kevin, who we know is not afraid to stand up to Cersei when shit goes wrong. He's like, you have no place here. What are you doing here? You're not the hand. What are you doing here? You're not welcome here. And Jamie's like, well, I'm Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and the Kingsguard does have a position. And Pycelle's like, well, Sir Gerald Hightower had a seat on the Mad King's Council.
But
King Robert saw things a little bit different.
Yeah, it was interesting that he mentioned Sir Gerald Hightower, because he was one of the 2 Kingsguard that we saw at the Tower of Joy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the White Bull, Lord Commander of the Mad King's Kingsguard, killed
that's right.
at the Tower of Joy right before Arthur Dayne.
I love learning stuff like that. It always enhances my watches the next time around.
Totally.
So Jamie pulls up some chairs and they both sit down, and Kevin is just not having any of this. And he's like, you guys can stay, but we're going to leave. And they all get up and walk out of the room.
Oh, man, that part is so funny, too.
It's so gangster, that moment. And Olenna looks over at her and is just like, haha, fuck you.
Yep.
Like, in your face.
Yeah, Cersei's like, well, you can't make us leave, so we better just start talking.
And they're like, nope.
We can't make you leave, but you can't make us stay. Unless you plan to have that thing murder all of us, which I thought was a pretty cool line.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how they get up like one by one, too. Like it's Kevin, then it's Olenna, and then Tyrell, which I found interesting. So Mace Tyrell is no longer Team Cersei. I just found that very interesting. He completely gravitates towards power, and after everything that's happened to Cersei, he no longer sees her as that.
Yep.
So he's gonna, switch his alliances to who's ever in power.
Team Kavan.
Kavan,
yeah.
Yeah.
I like when Pycelle goes to leave too, and he sort of stops right in front of Gregor for a second and gets like
looks at him,
a little flustered and scurries past.
An abomination.
Yeah.
Yes.
So cool.
And it's just, we're just left with Cersei and the mountain left in the room.
So much fun mountain stuff this season.
Yeah. So that was my number 5. Do you have any notes you want to add?
Not really. That pretty much covers it.
Cool. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Varys, the Happy Maker.
Okay.
I just thought how it was so funny. He's like, me. He calls in that whore who participated with slitting that Unsullied's throat and has been working with the Harpies. And he's like, I don't torture people. That, that gets answers, but a lot of the times they're the wrong answers.
Yeah, because usually people are just saying whatever they want, whatever they think they want to hear to stop the torture.
Exactly. So he's like, I get the information I want by a different means, by making people happy, which I thought was hilarious. And immediately he starts to like squeeze her by mentioning her son. First he's relating to her, like building her up, like, yeah, you've done, more than most people have done, sacrificing your body for a cause, etc. But you helped the Sons of the Harpy for treasonous purposes, and we both know what the penalty is for that. So he's like, he mentions her son, and she's like, oh, like all offended that he's threatening her son, and he's like, no, you're misunderstanding me. Like,
children are blameless.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Yeah, I've never hurt them. So he's implying that he has a history of hurting people, but never children, which is great.
That's true.
And so she says, if I tell you, they'll kill me, or otherwise you'll kill me. Either way, I'm dead. And he's like, from your perspective, that makes sense. I like his the way he comments about perspective.
Yes. It's like perception is reality.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense from your perspective, although I have a different perspective. And I think it's important you try to see things from my perspective, just as I will try to see them from yours.
I like that he knows their names.
Oh, yeah. He knows everything about this woman.
So he's showing to her, like, I know a lot about you. Like,
yeah, like I know stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, we both know the penalty is death, basically. I'm trying to help your son by giving you an out. And you're in a terrible situation here. You've been busted. You're dead if you don't talk to me. You're dead if you do talk to me. They'll kill you. So obviously it's not a good place to be. But he's offering her like a real serious solution.
Yeah.
Ticket out with a ton of money.
Get the hell out of town.
To keep her son healthy and to just get out of there and start fresh. And it's a really good tactic to get what he wants, really. Just super slick.
Yeah, I mean, we see this before with Shay as well, that this is a tactic that he's used to using to manipulate situations.
That's true.
are not in his favor.
Just in Shay's case, it wouldn't have made her happy because she actually seemingly wanted Tyrion.
Yes, but he felt like maybe he could use that tactic on her.
Yep.
So clearly he's used this tactic enough to know that it works on most people. It didn't happen to work on Shay, but here he is doing it again.
Yeah, and it definitely works this time.
Yeah. I mean, she's like, doesn't her kid have a breathing problem or something?
Yeah. That's all we know. How will poor Dom get on without his mother?
Yeah. So, I mean, a bag of silver, that's a lot of money to her, probably.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's so funny. She's like, if I tell you anything, they'll kill me. So either you kill me or they do. And he brings up that whole perspective thing again. Yes, from your perspective, this is a problem.
It's not my problem. It's your problem.
Yeah. However, there's a third option. And he like kicks at a bag at his feet, a big like bag full of silver.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to have one of these soldiers carry this down.
Yeah.
Because I'm weak.
The boat sails at dawn, but you need to decide now. A new life for you and Dom, or we'll cut your fucking head off, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
So
those are your two choices.
Yeah. He made her an offer she couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
Totally an offer she couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
Well, motherfucking played, Varys. That wraps up my number 5.
Nice. Good number 5.
Varys, the happy maker.
The happy maker.
Yeah. How about your number 4?
So my number 4 is the Tower of Joy.
Nice. That's my number 3. So we will collab a little bit.
Yes. I love this.
Fuck yeah.
When I first watched this, I really knew nothing about the prophecies, or, the speculation of Jon being a Targaryen.
Oh, wow.
Or any of that. So this scene, when I very first watched the series, felt very out of place.
You're
in
like,
the
what
fact
the fuck
that,
is going on here?
why are we seeing this battle between like 6 people? What's the significance of this?
Yeah,
I was a little confused. And we hear the girls screaming in the tower, and obviously Ned says in the scene, like, where's my sister? So I knew it had something to do with his sister at that point, but like I had no clue that was Sir Arthur Dane. I had no clue
epic.
that it was
or like the significance of any of it.
Yeah, like that. So knowing what I know now, the scene weighs so much more significantly as far as storyline goes for me.
When I had watched it, I had read the books at this point, so I knew about Arthur Dane and knew about the Tower of Joy and everything like that. I think that in between seasons, I had sort of been spoiled by hearing that there would be a Tower of Joy scene in the upcoming season 6 at the time.
Oh, got it.
And so that was sort of lingering on the back of my mind. And then when it cut to that shot of the tower in the distance with all the horses riding towards it, I just instantly knew Tower of Joy. And like, yeah, just like every time that pops on the screen, I just like stop breathing. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be epic.
Yeah. And it is pretty epic here. So, I love how fast those horses are going, and they're approaching the tower, and Sir Arthur Dane kind of stands up and puts his helmet on. Yeah, and
Bran's like, Sir Arthur Dane. And the three-eyed raven says, Sword of the Morning. And it's just such a fucking cool title, right?
It is. And it's, from a first-time viewer's perspective that has no history of it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, so he's a knight. They call him the Sword of the Morning, just like Jaime's called the Kingslayer.
Yep.
Like, it didn't pack any major meaning. And now that what he says right there is so significant. And then also that Howland Reed is there. And I love how Ned said, he's like, we looked for you. Like, where were you?
I looked for you on the Trident.
Your prince is dead. The Mad King is dead. Like, where the fuck were you? You're sitting here at the tower.
It's so funny too. Yeah. The other Kingsguard, Sir Gerald Hightower, I think he's like, your friend, the usurper, would be dead if we'd been there at the Trident. I'm like, damn, that's a bold statement, man. That's a really bold statement.
Robert was quite the warrior.
Yeah. And considering that these two get cut down by just these like 6 guys or whatever, Just having those two be at that battle, like, may or may not have made that big of a difference, you know?
Yeah, and I was also, as a first-time viewer, still a little confused of who Rhaegar Targaryen was.
Sure.
So, like, I knew that he was dead at this point because we get that information in this scene, but it didn't really click to me that he's Dany's brother, that, you know, the whole thing about the winter roses in Lyanna's lap, like, that all kind of, and maybe I was just not paying too much attention and just didn't, like, look into it.
It's a lot of information.
But that whole thing, like, kind of, like, glossed over when I first watched the series. The second time around, not so much. I picked up more on the importance of it.
The moment when all the laughter died. When we learn about Rhaegar and Lyanna and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we get the tagline, "I wish you good fortune in the wars to come."
Yes, so cool. Mance said that to Stannis right before he died. Jon says that to Dany in season 7.
Yeah, and they put on their helmets and, you know, start to get ready for battle. And I love Sir Arthur Dayne. He goes, "And now it begins." And Ned goes, "No, now it ends."
That was an awesome impression.
And I think this actor did such a great job portraying young Ned.
Totally. I knew immediately that it was Ned Stark before Bran was even like, "That's my father," you know?
Yeah. He does such a good job with the accent, with the look, with the furrowed brow. I mean, the body language, like, so he did such a great job.
I hope we get to see more of him this season.
I bet you we will, because Bran's going to be on, you know, Wi-Fi.
Totally.
So we start getting the battles, and I noticed instantly that Sir Arthur Dayne fights with 2 swords, and that's not very common.
So fucking cool.
At least in this show. I mean, we see it with the wildlings, but not like Westerosi knight fashion.
I've seen it in video games before too, but never like with a medieval style knight on screen. It's sick.
Yeah, it was really badass, and the whole choreography of that whole scene was really well done. The sweeping motions, I love the way the camera kind of circled around what was going on.
Yep.
So you had like a bird's eye kind of 360 view of the battle scenes, and people are getting their freaking guts slashed on and their necks ripped open, and, you know, it's
impaled on swords.
Yeah. So I'll kind of like let you take it from here, because I know that this is your number 3. And I think this part's kind of better explained by you, because you're so descriptive with battle scenes.
Well, I don't know about that, but so much cool stuff to talk about here. Before the fight starts, there's a couple things that are worth mentioning also as well. Arthur Dayne walks over and shoves his sword in the dirt. And if you look closely, you can see a sunrise on the pommel. And yeah, like a golden sun with rays shooting out from it. And everybody knows that the Sword of the Morning, certain members of the House Dayne, every once in a while will be worthy enough to wield the ancestral blade Dawn.
Oh.
And they're given the title Sword of the Morning. So Arthur Dayne was famous for having wielded this blade thousands of years old, which was allegedly forged from the heart of a fallen star. Some people think that Dawn may be the original Lightbringer, for instance.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, pale white blade. Yeah, it's really cool.
Was this sword pale white?
Not so much. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's a detail that they may have left out from the show.
Got it.
So there, it's just really freaking cool. That sword is like, it's missing at this point in the story, in the books and on the show. So people have been speculating about like where it is and what'll happen. After the Tower of Joy battle, Ned Stark apparently returned the blade to Starfall, the castle of House Dayne, and Ashara Dayne, upon learning of her brother's death, threw herself from the tower and committed suicide.
Oh, shit.
This is like, yeah, Arthur Dayne is like the most beloved knight of the time period, one of them. Like as Bran said, as father said, he was the greatest swordsman he's ever seen. He's highly respected. He was Jaime, the Kingslayer's idol before he was the Kingslayer. He actually knighted Jaime on the battlefield after the defeat of the Kingswood Brotherhood, after he'd crossed swords with the Smiling Knight, the Joker. But yeah, that sword is the one that Jaime was knighted with, and it was so sharp that even just tapping his shoulder with it sliced through his whatever he had, the cloth he had on his shoulder, and it cut him a little bit. Super, super sharp sword. It's not supposed to be Valyrian steel, but it's supposed to be like equally as powerful, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you know how like sometimes when something burns afterwards, it'll be like white. The charcoal will be like white.
Ashy. Yeah.
Yeah. So people think that this may be the original Lightbringer sword, and that it was burned to being white by the time the long night was over, basically.
Oh, wow.
Or something like that.
I love it. That's so cool.
Interesting. So they basically divulged that Rhaegar, the prince, wanted them at the Tower of Joy also, which is an interesting thing. Ned's like, why weren't you at the Trident to protect Rhaegar, basically? And they say he wanted us here. So immediately we know that something important is going on here. Typically, Kingsguard will only be tasked with protecting the royal family. So for them to not be with their prince, at least, I mean, Barristan was,
is really weird.
Really weird. And you'd expect there to be a member of the royal family at this place if they're there, basically. As we know now, there is a couple members of the royal family here at this point, which would be Lyanna Targaryen after the wedding, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And Jon, or Aegon Targaryen. So now what we know, it makes sense.
Sure.
But at the time, it was just a little clue for everybody. The prince wanted us here. And naturally, Ned's like, where's my sister? And it's just, this is when he says, I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. And it's just so sad that they can't just talk this out.
I know.
Obviously, Ned doesn't want Lyanna dead.
No.
So their interests are aligned as being Kingsguard and tasked to protect the royal family, as well as being a family member of this royal family member, you know. So neither of them want the baby or Lyanna dead. The Kingsguard must be conflicted, though, because Robert, at this point, they called him the usurper. So it's become clear that Robert has usurped the line and taken the kingship for himself. And he is attempting to kill all of the Targaryens. Rhaegar's dead. The Mad King is dead. Elia has been murdered, I believe, at this point, because King's Landing has already been sacked, etc. Aegon and Rhaenys, the two little babies, are dead.
Ugh, so sad.
Yeah. The Mad King's wife has escaped with Dany, who's like going to be born at any minute, basically, or whatever. Maybe they're already gone. I can't remember. So basically, they think that Robert will want Lyanna, at least the baby, dead, if not Lyanna as well, because he's in the process of snuffing out all the remaining Targaryens, essentially.
Which is why it's essential for Ned to keep Jon's secret.
Right. So it's too bad they couldn't have talked this all out, because instead of Arthur Dayne and Gerald Hightower dying, for instance, they could have
all protected her together.
Yeah, protect them together. They could have left in secret to whisk them away to be with Daenerys, and or something like that. But obviously they can't trust Ned because he has conflicted allegiances, allegiance to his sister, but at the same time, allegiance to Robert and everything like that. It's too bad that Ned didn't just sit the throne himself, because then there would have been no conflict.
Yeah, definitely.
It's sad how they can't just talk it all out, basically.
Yes. It is sad, but I also see why they can't. They're on opposing sides right now.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Even if they have the same agenda.
There was speculation before this scene came out, at least that in the book speculation, that maybe that's what did happen, that Ned and Arthur faked his death. But because apparently after this, Ned pulled down the Tower of Joy, he and Howland Reed basically dismantled the whole tower and used the stones to build cairns over the bodies of the fallen Kingsguard and people that died in this battle.
Oh, crazy. I like that.
Interestingly, yeah. So as far as we know, Arthur Dane is buried under that cairn, but we haven't seen his body, type thing.
Yeah. He's like Tupac.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. That's hilarious.
Nice.
So, and then there's that great line, now it begins. No, now it ends. Fucking great. Monumentally epic moment. So insane.
So crazy.
So the battle happens and Arthur pulls Dawn back out from the dirt and starts swinging both of these swords around, and all these guys are attacking from all angles, and he's just like this.
He's cutting them up.
Yeah, the moves are amazing. And he's just blocking blades from all different angles with all these different crazy sword motions, swinging them all around. And this is really impressive choreography for sure. It's pretty amazing. And Gerald Hightower is, impaling people with his blade and all this, and eventually gets killed himself.
Yeah. Is he the one that gets his neck split open?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he gets stabbed through the throat, I think. And so he drops. Yeah. And then Ned and the three remaining guys all kind of team up and surround Arthur Dane. And this is when we really get to see him unleash his sword capabilities. And you know how a lot of times in movies with fight scenes like this, there'll be a group of guys surrounding one guy, and one at a time, the guys will attack the person. Typically, they'll fend off one attacker at a time. But here, everybody attacks simultaneously. So he's got like 4 blades coming at him from all different angles. And he's just swinging all those, both of his swords around like nobody's business, deflecting everything and cutting them down one by one. Until finally, it's just him and Ned Stark. And Bran.
And you can tell who's better.
Yeah, it's like abundantly clear after Arthur Dane cuts down all these people, whittling down the battle to just him and Ned. And Bran is like, what the hell is going on here? And he's like, he's better than my father, having this moment of realization where he discovers how outrageously outmatched Ned was here. The Three-Eyed Raven confirms it. Far better. And Bran is trying to figure out what happened. He's like,
but my father beat him. Yeah, like he's clearly alive.
I've heard the story 1,000 times. He's like, I know he beat him. And this has me wondering, is this lie about, because obviously Howland Reed comes from behind after Ned is disarmed. He's about to be killed and Howland Reed saves him.
Stabs him in the back too.
Yeah, stabs him right through the back. Oh man. And he drops his swords, and Ned picks up Dawn and uses this blade to kill the Sword of the Morning. Oh, it's fucked up. It's like kind of the way Ned was killed by his own sword.
Nice. Yeah, it's karma.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's the first time that connection hit me just right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so he kills Arthur Dane with his own sword, and then he ends up being killed himself by Ice, his own blade, later on in life, at the end of his life. So that's pretty crazy. And so I was wondering, is this lie that Ned defeated Arthur Dane, is this lie responsible for Ned's reputation as a swordsman?
It could possibly be.
Because nobody seems to have really seen him fight too much. Well, and
he doesn't fight with Jamie. He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't fight in the tournaments.
He says, I'm not going to fight in the tourney because I don't want people to see
what I can do. Maybe that's really saying, because I can't really do as much as the legends say. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Although he does put up a good fight with against Jamie in the street there.
I think he's quite talented.
Yeah.
But that could have some merit. He doesn't want to show too much because then it would be more obvious. Whereas if he has to defend himself, he'll defend himself. Yeah,
if he fought at a bunch of tourneys and got his ass whooped publicly
all the time.
A bunch of times, people would be like, there's no way that Arthur Dane was taken out by this guy. And then there would be questions to be answered and things like that.
Yeah.
Cairns to dismantle the verify deaths and things. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think there's some merit to that for sure.
Yeah, it's possible. So he disarms Ned, who drops his sword, and then Howland Reed stabs him through the back, and he falls, and Ned takes him out, and all of a sudden, a woman screams from the tower. And I've heard people speculating that there also may be a baby crying inside of that scream as well.
Oh,
kind of
really?
Together. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
I'll have to listen to it again.
Yeah, either her voice cracks or there's a baby in there wailing at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So it's possible that's the first anybody has heard of John, basically.
Oh, crazy.
Aegon up there. So Bran's like, what the fuck was that? What's in that tower? And he should have realized.
The Raven's like, we gotta go.
Yeah, that's enough for one day. And all the viewers, all the book readers especially, are like, no, we need to see what's in the tower. We can't wait. This is ridiculous.
You have to wait until season 7, episode 7 to confirm this.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was? Season 7?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's when we find out 100% that Jon is a Targaryen, because we find that realization while they're having sex with each other.
Oh, man.
Bran is talking to Sam.
Oh, right. They confirm it with their each other's information. We get the reveal, though, the transformation.
We get the reveal that she had a baby.
I think we get the reveal of the transformation where it goes from little baby's face to Jon's face. It's during the King in the North scene when Lyanna Stark is naming Jon as the King in the North. I think that's in the end of this season. So we find out that Jon was the baby at the end of this season. And then during season 7, we find out that he was actually a Targaryen and that they were married.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that. Oh, how could I forget about that scene? That's such a goosebumpy scene.
Yeah, totally. So great.
Nice.
So we'll get that in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
The initial reveal, but then the confirmation comes later.
Yes, that's
the cross information analysis. So Bran is just not having it. We know he loves to stay inside these visions, whether he's warging into summer or whether he's touching the roots. Yeah, he's chasing the dragon constantly. And so there's a big ass dragon up in or baby dragon in that tower at this point. Oh man, that was a nice metaphor that worked out perfectly. So Ned starts running over to the tower, and the three-eyed Raven's like, we got to get out of here. That's enough. And Bran's like, no, I have to see where he's going. And he chases after Ned and yells, Father! Oh my God, it's such an epic moment. And it like echoes like, Father, Father, Father. And Ned stops on the stairs and turns back around to look.
Do you think he hears him? Do you think he heard him?
I think he did. I think that he heard him.
I do too.
It's almost like Bran has some kind of like transcendent ability to communicate with people throughout time through the werewoods. It's like these accidental blunderings that he's accomplished in doing so have had crazy repercussions. Like he sort of accidentally taps into Hodor's mind. Yeah. And that Hodor's Hodor. And then Theon may hear him whispering through the leaves at Winterfell in the books also.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty. Every time there's people who every time you hear leaves rustling in the books,
it's Bran.
Yeah, basically
peeping through the bushes.
Yeah, totally. So, and then here, it's entirely possible that he came really close to fucking up Ned here and preventing his own existence from ever happening. Like if he had like tapped into Ned the way that he tapped into Hodor accidentally, or the way that he does coming up. Imagine that. He may have just prevented his own existence. Dun, dun, dun.
That's a mind fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ned stops and turns. He had to have heard something, and it's
leaves rustling.
Yeah. He doesn't have any kids at this point. Like he hasn't returned with Jon yet. So he doesn't know that Robb's been born, for instance. Unless he just got word that he's been born. But like, it's not like somebody would say, Father, and Ned Stark would turn.
He doesn't have like a teenage child.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. He seems like he heard something, and whatever it was powerful enough to make him stop when he's running to find Lyanna. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's just took out King Koopa Troopa Bowser, and he's just about to get the princess in the tower, basically.
Yep.
Like Mario Brothers style. And he stops on the stairway to take a glance around the scene. Obviously, he heard something.
Yeah, I think he heard him.
Yeah, and then boom, the vision ends, and we're like, no, all of us collectively, we need to see what's in there. We know John's in there. We know what's his real name. We're wondering.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just such a great scene, and he's like, what the hell again? Why did you take me away? Like we need to go back there. Something is important is happening. He can tell.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like, he heard me. My father heard me. And the three-eyed raven's like, maybe he heard the wind.
The leaves rustling.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes on to say the past is already written. The ink is dry. And I'm wondering, is it? Obviously not, because he ends up tapping Hodor coming up in a couple episodes.
That's true.
But the three-eyed raven seems to be convinced that this isn't possible, basically. He's telling him that you can't interact with these people through these visions. That everything's already...
he interacts with the Night King. The Night King touches Bran.
That's live time, though.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's not in the past or the future.
Right. Yeah. They seem to be like meeting like simultaneously.
Yeah, got it. That makes more sense.
Whereas like Three-eyed Raven is saying that these are more like memory banks that we're just sort of looking through, but it's just like information on a cartridge, basically. It's not like, apparently not though. It seems like Bran is actually having an effect on these events, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Part of that whole like time, it's a giant mind fuck as we get into the whole Hodor loop and all of this crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, we got in it with our round table, I think, for the Red Wedding episode.
Oh right,
and we were like going around in circles with it. It was awesome.
So funny. So
nice.
Bran's like, he's just too curious. He needs to go back in there. And the three-eyed raven warns him again about the dangers of being in too long and never returning. And I'm wondering if, because the three-eyed raven seems pretty lucid, you know what I mean? Like he seems like pretty with it and regular.
Like coherent.
Yeah. Whereas in a few episodes, Bran turns into sort of like robot Bran, computer Bran, you know, where he's just,
I think because that he was overloaded.
Yeah.
Because he had to learn it all so fast and not through the enough time that the three-eyed raven wanted him to, which is why he kind of gives Bran these like bursts of information.
Right.
When the three-eyed raven realizes he's gonna die, he basically like just sends Bran into like turbo upload mode.
Yeah,
and I
totally.
think it kind of left him off, like,
yeah,
because he saw so much at once.
Yeah, exactly.
That his brain kind of misfires now.
It's like the computer Bran style of demeanor is like a side effect of being in too long, like he's warning about here or something.
Yeah.
It's almost like
perhaps
when you're resurrected, we'll talk about this in a little bit more, but how Beric says that every time he comes back, it's like he's a little bit less. There's a piece of him gone. It seems like the same type of thing when you go into the werewood memories and come back. Like maybe you're losing a little bit of yourself every time. And that's why it's dangerous to stay in there too long.
Yeah, definitely.
But then again, the three-eyed raven has apparently been sitting there under the tree for 1,000 years, as he tells us in this episode. So that shoots to shit any theories about the three-eyed raven being blood raven on the show, for instance.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and so the three-eyed raven continues and tells Bran, like, even though I've been here 1,000 years, like, you're not going to stay here. You're going to leave. And Bran's like, why were you here that long then? And he says, I was waiting for you. So Bran must be fucking important. You know, if this dude's been waiting 1,000 years for him to arrive, like he's been prophesized. Yeah. Does that mean that Bran is the prince that was promised?
Oh.
I mean, like, 1,000 years, that's a long time.
That is a long time. Maybe Bran is going to play a part in bringing about the prince or princess who is promised.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think he is, though.
Yeah, I doubt it too. So the Three-Eyed Raven's like, listen, I know you're frustrated. I don't blame you, but you're not going to be here forever. You're going to leave, but before you leave, you need to learn. And Bran's like, learn what?
Everything.
So ominous. And with access to the memory banks of Planetos, basically through the Werewood network, it's almost like Bran theoretically could learn everything.
Yeah, definitely.
It's fucking wild, man. Really cool.
That's why I think Bran gets a little overloaded when the Three-Eyed Raven sends him into his like warging state and then gets killed. So now he's not there to regulate it.
Yep.
So he's just getting like flooded. He's like getting waterboarded.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for my number 3.
Okay.
And your number 4.
So we need to do your number 4.
All right. My number 4 is The Miracle at the Wall.
Okay. Is this his resurrection?
Yeah.
Okay. This is my number 1.